If you look online nowadays, you're gonna find a bunch of running content creators that frankly have an enormous collection of running shoes. Now that's all well and good, but that might leave you wondering whether you need multiple running shoes. And not to spoil the video, but the answer is gonna depend on the kind of running that you're doing. If you're new here, my name's Albert, and I'm a 254 marathoner that's currently training to run the Copenhagen Marathon this spring in a time of under 2 hours and 50 minutes. In this video, I'll talk about my own experience with running shoes over the years so that you can separate the marketing and the hype from what you actually need. Let's get into it. In my mind, there are two reasons that you might want to wear different running shoes each week, or in other words, have a shoe rotation. The first is a potential lower risk of running-related injuries, which I'll explain in a minute. And the second is to have different shoes for different types of runs. So I'll break down both of these real quick, and then I'll let you know whether you should care about either of these things depending on the type of runner that you are. As far as I can tell, this idea that owning multiple running shoes and running in different running shoes can actually lower your risk of injury seems to come from a paper that was published in 2013 in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science in Sports. The paper points out that running is essentially a very repetitive sport where you're gonna constantly be putting similar impact and force on the same parts of your body again and again. And a lot of running related injuries come from the accumulation of micro traumas that running is gonna place on your body. And pretty much the thought process was by running in different running shoes, that's gonna change how you interact with the ground in each different pair. And that can kind of spread out where the load is being placed on your body instead of always making it in the exact same place on every run. And in theory, this would reduce your risk of injury because the load is going to be a little bit more spread out on your body. Now, the big finding from this paper was that there's a 39% reduced risk of injury when running in different pairs of running shoes, which is pretty massive. Keep in mind that even though this paper is cited by a lot of other papers, it still is just one study. I did find another paper from 2025 that's a lot more recent, where their only conclusive result was that sudden spikes in distance led to a higher risk of injury, but when it came to shoe changes, their results were inconclusive due to statistical uncertainty. But for the sake of this video, let's just assume that running in different pairs of running shoes has the potential to slightly lower your risk of an overuse injury. Now, the second reason you might want to have multiple running shoes is that running shoes are built for a specific purpose. So you have daily trainers for your easy runs and general purpose running. You have speed shoes, and you also have super shoes, which are carbon plated and are going to be generally used for race day. But what does that mean for you? I'll take you through my own running journey, starting off with when I first started running and was running once or twice a week or less, all the way up to now when I'm running 6 or 7 days a week, and I'll talk about how my shoe rotation has changed over that 5-year span. I would categorize my past running into 3 separate categories. So the first being you generally don't run on back-to-back days within the same week. The second being you do run on back-to-back days at least once per week. And the third category would be that you're doing some kind of structured training and doing different types of runs every week. And keep in mind that there can be some overlap with these categories and that they don't need to be mutually exclusive necessarily. When I first started running in 2020, I was in the first category. I would generally run maybe once or twice a week, and I'd never run on back-to-back days. And back then I had just one pair of running shoes. It was a pair of Asics GT 1000s. And later on in 2020 and 2021, I was still running at most 2 days a week, sometimes 3 maybe, but still not on back-to-back days. Although I did switch to a pair of Saucony Endorphin Speed 2s, which were more of a fun shoe to run in and definitely more speed oriented, but it was still the only pair I was running in at the time. So for me, the main takeaway here is that if you yourself are in that first category and just run casually, which is totally fine by the way, but if you're in that first category, then I'd say you're totally fine just having one pair of running shoes. I'd say just pick a pair of running shoes that makes you excited to put them on and go for a run in them. So that can be something that feels comfortable, that can be something that's maybe a little bit more bouncy and fun. But ultimately, just having one pair of running shoes isn't really going to increase your risk of injury, because if you're not running on back-to-back days, then you'll have some days in between your runs where you can recover and you won't be placing a tremendous amount of stress on your body from running. Now, at the start of 2023, I started to train for my first marathon, and I also started to follow a structured training plan for the first time as well. So essentially at that point, I went from being in the first category to going into the second and third category at the same time. My shoe rotation did change to accommodate this, and back then I had 2 pairs of Triumph 20s from Saucony and one pair of Endorphin Speed 2s, also from Saucony. So the Triumph 20s were basically what I did all of my training in, and I saved the Endorphin Speed 2s for the actual marathon itself. While I did have different training shoes, they were the same model of shoe, so that's gonna kind of negate any benefits of having different shoes in your rotation. So if I were to go back and change something, I would probably keep one of the Triumph 20s, but make the other pair something else. So for example, for shoes that are available today, it could be one of the following, and I'll just throw it up on the screen here. And the Endorphin Speed 2 was really a shoe that I felt a bit faster in just because the foam was a bit bouncier and the shoe was a bit lighter. And I think saving that kind of shoe for race day is totally fine. The only caveat I'll say is that if you're gonna buy a shoe specifically for race day, make sure you run at least one training run in it beforehand so that you know the shoe is gonna feel fine. You wanna make sure your body feels good in the shoe and that you don't get issues like blisters and that sort of thing. And really that's not something you wanna find out on race day. So back then when I was training for that first marathon, even though I had different shoes in my rotation, I was essentially wearing daily trainers for every single type of training run, which is doable, but maybe not ideal. And so what changed for me in 2024 as I was training for my second marathon is now I had a shoe for each different type of run that I was doing. I had a pair of Triumph 21s and Nova Blast 4s for my general easy running. I had a pair of Super Blast 2s for my longer easy runs. And I had a pair of Endorphin Speed 4s for my running workouts. And I had a pair of carbon-plated Endorphin Pro 3s for race day. If you want to talk needs versus wants, I'd say you really only ever need up to 3 pairs of running shoes. And that's gonna be one daily trainer, one speed shoe that's a bit lighter and faster for your running workouts, and one super shoe, which you can wear for race days. And really beyond that, I think you don't need to have more than 3 pairs, but if having more makes running more fun, then I think that's a totally valid reason to have a bigger shoe rotation. And I am someone that currently owns more than 10 pairs of running shoes, so I probably am a bit biased, but I do find it fun to run in more than just 3 running shoes. It's definitely more of a nice to have thing though, and not a necessity. For the rest of this video, I'll run you through what my current shoe rotation is, what I use each shoe for, and I'll also let you know what my brutally honest thoughts are on each shoe. It's Wednesday, March 4th. I'm about to head out for my track workout. Shoe choice for today is going to be the Evo SL. This is pretty much my go-to for every single track workout, and to be honest, most of my road workouts as well. It's technically just a daily trainer, and it's priced like one too, but it's got the old Adios Pro 3 Super Foam in it, so it's actually quite a springy shoe, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So it's just kind of taken a spot in my rotation as my kind of workout speed shoe. So I've been liking that shoe a lot. Whew, okay, that was a big workout. That was 14K total of actual volume at faster paces, and that was just over a half marathon in total, and most of that was on the track, so really big run today. Those 5Ks at marathon pace actually felt super comfortable, and I've mostly been doing intervals that have been faster than marathon pace, so it's a good sign that, you know, this pace feels relatively good, even though I haven't been really practicing it all that much. So yeah, pretty happy with that one. But you know, it's always easy to do a big day, but it's all about how you bounce back from it. So gonna focus on recovery for the next few days and then come back at it with another big session on Saturday. It is Saturday, March 7th, and today we've got a bit of an interesting shoe choice. Let me just explain that real quick. So for today's workout, we've got the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5, and to be honest, I don't typically wear this shoe a whole lot, but today's workout is going to be mostly on dirt trails, not really trail running, but it's not going to be on pavement, so I find that something like the Evo SL is just a bit too unstable, and just when the surface is a bit uneven, it's a bit dicey. Potentially, you know, could be an ankle sprain waiting to happen, that sort of thing. And the Endorphin Speed 5 is a lot lower profile, less stack, especially in the forefoot, and the foam is a lot firmer. So it's a bit harsh on pavement, but for a workout that's on a bit of a softer surface like today, I find it's a really nice shoe actually. So yeah, that's the shoe I'm going to be rocking for today's workout. And that's my Sunday run done. So that was just a 1 hour easy run. And yeah, the headwind was really crazy.
Holy, this is crazy. This is probably, I've been running for about half an hour, and it's just like the craziest headwind of the year, I think. Felt like I was literally just walking at certain points because I was just getting blasted with wind, but oh, legs are pretty cooked. It better be a tailwind on the way home, I swear. Sometimes you just turn around and somehow it's a headwind both ways, so really hope that's not the case today, but I'm gonna wrap up this run. I just needed a break, honestly.
But I just did an out and back, and on the way out, it felt like I was up against a brick wall. Just felt like I was walking at times, and then on the way back, it felt I was just getting pushed in the back almost, like just, you know, I almost had to go a bit faster just because of the wind. So it averaged out to, you know, probably my typical easy run pace, but the splits were noticeably different in the first and second half, which was kind of funny. And on the feet today is probably my favorite shoe of all time, and that's the Asics Super Blast 2. And I like this shoe so much that I have 4 pairs of them. Yep. But really, this is going to be my long run shoe. So if I'm doing a longer easy run at a bit of an easier pace, you know, not something like at marathon pace or faster, then this is always going to be the shoe that I reach for. And I'll typically run some of my midweek easy runs in this shoe as well. And yeah, the shoe isn't really that flashy, but it's got a nice firm foam that actually makes it quite versatile, so you can pick up the pace in it. I also use it as my travel shoe. If I can only pack 1 pair of running shoes, then I'll also make sure it's this pair. But really, this is a big staple in my running shoe rotation, especially for marathon training. All right, it's the start of week 4, and I'm actually going to be jogging over to the gym first to get a workout in, and then I've got a social run for my first run of the week. And on the feet today is the Salomon Aero Glide 3. This is pretty much my go-to for shorter, easy runs and recovery runs, and yeah, just a good no-fuss shoe. Yeah, I've got a pretty blue outfit on today. But anyway, yeah, running a bit late, so I'm going to get this run going. Okay, it's Wednesday, March 11th, and I actually have a super exciting shoe rotation update. So I'm racing a road 5K this Saturday, and I've been hunting for a specific shoe for months now to add into my rotation as my 5K to half marathon race day shoe. And that's this guy right here. This is the Puma Fast R3. I finally got my hands on a pair of these and was able to buy them, and I'm gonna take them for a test drive on tonight's workout, which I'm so excited about. And I'm super pumped to try them out, honestly. So yeah, let's just see how they feel.
Albert, how was that tonight?
Fast.
Just give me a little bit of a reaction going into St. Patrick's Day. How did that feel?
Yeah, pretty good. I don't know, it's like a rest day yesterday, so legs are a bit sluggish. But I mean, those were about like 80 seconds-ish, 400s. Felt okay. I think they're pretty short relative to the other stuff I've been doing. So, I mean, no point being silly on the track tonight, I think. So,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
just like take some confidence away, and I think that's about it, yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how you do on Saturday.
Same.
All right.
Okay, it's Thursday morning now, and I didn't get around to filming anything after the workout yesterday just because it was super cold and rainy, and I just didn't really feel like, you know, filming anything, and I kind of just hopped in the shower and went straight to bed, to be honest. But yeah, the Fast R3s were a wild ride, but I'll save my full thoughts on them for the end of the video when I go through my full current shoe rotation. And yeah, since my 5K is just 2 days away now, today's run and tomorrow's run are both going to be pretty short, pretty much just like shakeout runs. And today's run is going to be 25 minutes at an easy effort with 4 sets of strides at the end. Today's run is going to be in the Nova Blast 5. This is kind of the last shoe I regularly run in each week. To be honest, not my favorite. I kind of stick to it for like shorter easy runs, kind of like maybe up to like 12K or so at most. But yeah, again, I'll save my more detailed thoughts for the end of the video, but let's get this run going.
Oh, there's geese everywhere.
To end the video off, I thought it'd be fun to go through my full shoe rotation that I have right now, give you a 30 seconds or less review of each shoe, and also put each shoe on a tier list. I'll start with all the daily trainers and then get into the carbon shoes at the end. Okay, so first up, we've got the Salomon Aeroglide 3. So we saw this one earlier. This is my go-to for recovery runs and also shorter easy runs. And it's a firm foam, it's a comfortable shoe, but it's really nothing special. Despite that though, it never feels bad and it's always gonna feel relatively comfortable. So I'm gonna put this shoe solidly in the B tier. Okay, next up we've got the Nova Blast 5 from Asics. And this is a tough one, if I'm being honest, because I love Asics. It's probably my favorite brand to run in at the moment, especially for daily trainers, but the Nova Blast is just kind of a flop. The durability is honestly not great on this shoe. I've heard for some people, their shoes died at 250K or less. Mine are sitting in the high 300s and honestly don't feel great, which I think in 2026 just kind of is pretty bad durability wise. And I didn't feel like the foam or the comfort was good enough to make up for that. So unfortunately, this shoe is going straight into the D tier for me. But to counteract the Nova Blast, we've got the Super Blast 2 from Asics. Now, where the Nova Blast is pretty bad on the durability side, the Super Blast 2 is the absolute king of durability. I don't think there's any shoe from any brand that's out right now that is competing with the Super Blast 2 in durability. So I got over 1,000 kilometers out of my first pair, and this pair is sitting at 900 kilometers right now, and it's still feeling good. So I might even try and push this pair a little bit further, maybe to 11 or 1200K. Like the Aeroglide, it's also a firm foam, but the nice thing about that is that it feels the same throughout your run, no matter how long it is. And throughout its lifespan, the foam feels very consistent as well. And yeah, probably my favorite trainer of all time. And without a doubt, this one's going straight to the S tier. Okay, next up is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. This is a bit of an interesting shoe for me. Technically, it's a speed shoe, as it says in the name, but to me, this really is not a fast shoe at all. The foam is incredibly firm and feels like it's not really doing anything to make you faster. The only thing that might be making you faster compared to some other trainers is the weight. It is a pretty light shoe and kind of low profile, especially in the forefoot, not a ton of stack. So I'd say I like this shoe on the track, and I also like it when I'm doing a workout that's not on pavement, so on gravel or on trail or dirt or something like that. But that kind of niche use case to me just means I'm not going to be reaching for it a whole lot. To me, that puts it kind of in the C tier. It's not bad, but it's a bit too niche to be kind of going any higher than that. All right, and to round off the daily trainers, we've got the Adidas Evo SL here. So I knew before I even got this pair that this was a super popular shoe and still is a super popular shoe. And when I first tried it on, I didn't know what to really make of it. It felt unstable to some extent. It felt a bit chaotic. It felt super fun. And I'd heard that it felt best at like a tempo effort or like a moderate pace. And I'd say that's 100% true. And it's kind of become my speed shoe now. I wear it for track workouts, road workouts, the whole thing, long runs sometimes as well. And I think the price is what really makes this just a super compelling shoe to have in the rotation. But even at a higher price point, I still think it would be great. But with the price that it's at, no question, this is an S tier shoe for me. Okay, that rounds out the daily trainers. Now let's get into the carbon shoes. And first up, we've got the Endorphin Pro 3 from Saucony. So this was the first carbon shoe that I actually ever bought, although this is the second pair of it. And yeah, even to this day, to me, the Endorphin Pro lineup from Saucony is probably one of the better entry points into the world of carbon shoes, especially if you've never owned a carbon shoe before. So it's a nice firmer foam, it's got good stability, but you'll still get a nice pop from it that you'll notice compared to just wearing a regular daily trainer or even like a speed shoe that's not carbon plated. This shoe holds a special place in my heart just because this was the shoe I wore when I broke the 3-hour barrier in the marathon for the first time. I ran Victoria Marathon 2024 in this pair of shoes. And yeah, really it's just a pretty great carbon shoe from Saucony at a good price point. And to me, it's a solid A-tier shoe. Okay, and next up we have two of the same shoe. So this is the Adios Pro 4 from Adidas. And this was the first pair I bought, and then the blue pair I wore for CIM, which is my current marathon PB. So to me, this really felt like the first ever real pair of super shoes that I'd owned. And the foam is super soft, super bouncy and fun. And I think it does shine the most in the marathon because with that softer foam, it's gonna take the impact of the distance off your body a little bit, and that'll keep you fresher throughout the race and will also make your post-race recovery just a little bit better. And given the price point it's at, I think the value is really great with this shoe. The only downside is in my first pair, in the white pair, I'm pretty sure I snapped one of the rods in one of the shoes. While that doesn't really change how the shoe feels, it does make this annoying clicking sound for pretty much every step you take. That is kind of annoying, and I've seen online that it's a relatively common issue. So to me, that kind of having that big of a flaw means I can't make this an S tier shoe, but I am happy putting it in the A tier because I think especially for the price, it's a really, really good super shoe. And last but most certainly not least is my most recent shoe purchase, and that's the Puma Fast R Nitro Elite 3. And I just wore this for my 5K PB that I just set, which I'll make a video about, and that'll be my next video. But this shoe is fast and honestly doesn't feel like any other shoe I've ever tried, and definitely is not beginner friendly, I would say. I would say to me, this shoe only feels comfortable when you're running at 3:30 per kilometer or faster. And really, the faster you go, the better it feels. But it feels like this shoe is almost cheating. It is a legal shoe, tons of elite runners wear it, but the propulsion you get out of the foam and the full length carbon plate with, you know, the toe sticking out at the front is really unlike any other shoe I've tried. And I've tried pretty much every single carbon shoe. No shoe feels like this one and the bounce that you get. To me, I could never wear it for a marathon. My marathon time, just to be honest, isn't fast enough, I think, to really wear this shoe comfortably. But to me, it's really the perfect 5K, 10K, maybe even half marathon shoe because, you know, I think for me, it probably took an extra 10 seconds off my 5K just from wearing these shoes alone. And I think just based off of how fast the shoe is and just based on that alone, this is an S tier shoe for me. There's really no other carbon shoe that is as fast as the Puma Fast R, and at least that I've tried. There's a reason a lot of elites wear this shoe. I think it gives you just that little extra edge and genuinely does boost your performance. So I will say though, you absolutely cannot heel strike in this shoe because it just feels so far forward, and really you want to be kind of on the forefoot as much as possible in this shoe. So definitely try the shoe before buying it just to make sure you feel comfortable running in it. Really, there's no other shoe that's out right now that is as aggressive and as propulsive as the Puma Fast R. And that's a wrap on the shoe rotation. So let me know if you agree or disagree with my ratings in the comments down below, and let me know what your thoughts on all the shoes are. And I just ran a 5K PB in the Pumas actually, so I'm gonna make a bit of a race recap for the next episode of Copenhagen Calling, and I'll break down how that race went and also what it means for the rest of my Copenhagen build. But if you've made it this far, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.